Hi friends, tonight let us drift together into the land of gods and heroes, where olive trees bend under the Mediterranean sun and marble temples gleam beneath sapphire skies. But tonight's tale is not one of triumphant glory. It is, rather, a quiet wondering of how strange and wearying it might feel for you to wake up in such a world. So close your eyes, breathe gently, and imagine the rustle of linen, the scent of crushed thyme, and the distant murmur of waves. You awaken not in your bed, but on a woven mat of rushes and wool stiff against your spine. The ceiling above you is not plastered, but roughly hewn. Timber beams darkened by smoke. There are no clocks ticking, no hum of electricity, only birdsong and the muted shouts of merchants drifting through an open window. You blink slowly. The air is warm, but dry. Unlike anything from your time, it carries with it the fragrance of olive oil, burning resin, and something unfamiliar, perhaps sheep dung or sun-baked clay. Welcome to ancient Greece. You are not a hero, not a philosopher, nor a god in disguise. You are simply you, dropped somehow into this ancient world without guidance, instruction, or even sandals to cover your feet. Your clothes are gone. In their place, a coarse tunic, fastened at the shoulder with a bronze pin. It scratches your skin. There's no underwear, and the breeze feels rather intimate. As you rise, you realize your feet are bare, and the tiled floor is cool beneath your soles. Outside, someone calls in a tongue you almost understand. Greek, ancient and melodic, but too foreign to catch more than a phrase or two. You stumble out into a courtyard. Chickens scatter. A young boy stares at you, then runs off with a shout. An old woman sits grinding barley, her eyes narrow. You are in a modest home, likely somewhere near Athens. The walls are painted with simple red figures. Hercules, perhaps, or scenes from a harvest. There is no privacy, no locked doors, no sense of mine as you knew it. You look for a bathroom. There is none. The concept of plumbing is distant, barely embryonic here. If you need to relieve yourself, it will be in a communal pot or a trench in the garden, with a sponge and water jug for cleaning. An introduction to humility, indeed. Your stomach rumbles. No cereal box awaits you. No coffee machine burbles. A flat loaf of barley bread and a bit of goat cheese sit on a low table. No utensils, no napkins. You tear a piece with trembling hands, the cheese crumbly and pungent. There's water in a ceramic jug, lukewarm and slightly metallic from the clay. A man enters, tall, sunburned, his beard trimmed in the style of the time. He eyes you with suspicion. You cannot explain yourself. You don't know the words. You can only smile faintly and gesture to the bread. He watches, then waves his hand. You understand. You are to follow. Outside, the street bustles. Women with veils pulled over their hair carry baskets of grapes and figs. Children chase one another. With shrill laughter, a slave with a branded shoulder walks behind a man in fine robes, holding a parasol to keep the sun off his master's face. The man leading you says a name. Maybe it's yours, maybe not. He takes you toward the agora, the city's heart. The smell of grilled fish, honeyed nuts, and ripe olives fills the square. Stallholders shout, coins jingle, goats bleat. It should be beautiful, mesmerizing, and it is. But it is also overwhelming. You are disoriented, slow, strange. A voice yells. A guard approaches. He asks questions you can't answer. The man tries to explain. You don't understand, but the guard frowns, then gestures at your feet, still bare, not proper, not right. A sharp word, a crack of wood. He strikes the air near your ankle, not hitting, but warning. You want to run, but where? And to whom? The man buys you sandals from a merchant, binds them to your feet with goat leather straps. He shows you how to walk properly, heel, then toe. Everything you knew feels wrong. Even walking is an art here. You begin to sense it now, the slow dread that seeps into your chest. The knowledge that you do not belong, not just in language or dress, but in thought, in custom, in every unspoken rule of this place. You are watched, not with cruelty, but with curiosity, suspicion, distance. Your gestures are strange. Your eyes linger too long. You forgot to bow slightly when passing an elder. You didn't pour the gods a drop of wine before drinking. A small boy hurls a fig at your shoulder and shouts something mocking. Laughter follows. You are different, alien. And in ancient Greece, to be strange is dangerous. Night falls slowly, and with it, the temperature drops. The man leads you back to the home. He offers you a blanket of rough wool. No pillow, no mattress. Just the mat and the flicker of an oil lamp. You lie there, listening to the distant lyre song of revelers in the distance. A dog barks. Somewhere, a woman sings to a restless child. The stars above you are bright and countless, and you realize with a soft chill that this is only day one. The morning comes not with a gentle alarm or the soft chime of your phone, but with the sharp crow of a rooster. Close, persistent, and unrelenting. You open your eyes slowly, bleary with fatigue from the stiffness of the mat and the restlessness of unfamiliar sleep. The air is cooler than you expect, but already carries a dryness that promises heat later. The household is stirring. The woman you saw grinding barley yesterday moves like clockwork, kneading dough with calloused hands, brushing her veil into place, then sweeping the courtyard with a bundle of reeds. No words are exchanged. Her expression is neither kind nor cruel, simply impassive. You are not expected to speak. You are expected to understand, yet you do not. A young boy runs past, barefoot, shouting something excitedly to the man who brought you to the agora. Their laughter mingles, warm and familiar. You watch from the doorway, an outsider in a domestic ballet you cannot join. Breakfast is as modest as yesterday. Bread dipped in diluted wine. No sugar, no fruit, no hot drink to warm your bones. The wine tastes sharp, watery. It stings your throat. You sip slowly, trying not to offend. Every movement you make feels clumsy. You are painfully aware of your hands, your posture, your presence. The man speaks to you, slowly this time, using gestures. He points to his eyes, then yours, then to the broom. You realize slowly, he wants help. You take the broom and begin to sweep. It's awkward. The bristles catch on the uneven stones, and your strokes are too short, too timid. He corrects you, gently at first, then more firmly. You feel heat rise in your chest, not from shame, but helplessness. In your world, you had agency, control, a voice. Here you have none of these things. Even sweeping feels like a test you cannot pass. After the sweeping, he motions for you to follow. You walk through the winding alleys again, the city slowly, waking. Dogs roam freely. Market stalls are being set up with olives, cheeses, dried fish. A woman yells at a boy for stealing a fig. The boy sprints away, laughing. You arrive at a public well. The man hands you a ceramic jug, empty. You are to fetch water. The queue is long. Women with strong arms and worn sandals balance jugs on their hips. They eye you, some curious, some cautious. You smile weakly, unsure whether it's rude or foolish. When your turn comes, you lower the jug into the well with a creaky rope. It's heavier than you expect. The water is cool and smells of earth and minerals. You draw it up with effort and spill some on your tunic. A girl nearby laughs. You flush. Carrying it back is harder still. The jug digs into your hip. The sloshing. Weight makes you stumble. Your arms burn. The path is uneven, strewn with stones and refuse. A man selling amphorae shouts at you as you nearly trip on a display. You return to the house drenched in sweat, your arms trembling. The man nods, satisfied. He hands you a cloth, coarse linen, to dry your face. There is no reward, no praise, only another gesture. He points to the clay oven, then the logs beside it. You are to tend the fire. The day becomes a rhythm of labor, grinding barley, helping shape loaves, fetching more water, scrubbing a floor with vinegar and herbs. The work is relentless, and your body, unaccustomed to such movement, aches with every motion. You think about the luxury of your time: air conditioning, running water, soft chairs, even the hum of a refrigerator. Here, nothing is easy. Every meal is earned. Every task exacts its toll, and no one offers pity. This is life. This is survival. Comfort is for the gods. Midday brings the sun to its zenith. The courtyard blazes with heat. You are told to rest, but the mat offers little respite. You try to sleep, but the sound of buzzing flies and shouting neighbors keeps you awake. Your mind races. What are you doing here? How long can you last? Evening brings more noise to the streets. Drunken laughter, the clatter of bronze dishes. Someone strums a lyre. A woman dances under a fig tree, her arms swaying like reeds. There is joy, yes, but none for you. You are too lost in your own confusion to join. Dinner is thicker bread, this time with lentils and a bit of onion. It is filling, though bland. The man talks with the boy, their conversation fast and layered with references you cannot pass. You are invisible again. You eat silently, mechanically. When they laugh, you try to smile. But you do not understand the joke. You are a ghost here, tethered by flesh, but unmoored in spirit. That night, you stare at the stars again. The same stars. You knew, yet impossibly distant now. You think of your own bed, your phone, your language. You crave the sound of your own name, spoken in the tone of someone who knows you. Here, you are no one, and that, perhaps, is the hardest part. Sleep comes, slowly, not with dreams, but with exhaustion. When morning stirs again in ancient Greece, it does so not with promise, but with weight. You wake not to hope, but to the creeping sense that today may be harder than the last. The mat beneath you bears your imprint like a brand. Your limbs ache from yesterday's toil, your shoulders tight, your heels bruised. The chirp of swallows above the eaves sounds melodic, but even beauty begins to feel distant when your place in it is uncertain. The man, your silent, rugged guide in this unknown world, enters the courtyard and speaks a few slow words. He gestures east, then makes a motion as though stroking a beard, then drawing scrolls in the air. You recognize it after a moment. Today, he is taking you to see the philosophers. How noble it sounds, how quaint. The word conjures images of togas, deep thought beneath olive trees, debates about virtue and the soul. But what you soon find is far less romantic and far more humbling. You walk through sunlit alleys, past fig trees and courtyards, thick with jasmine, until you reach a grove, where the earth has been worn by footsteps. A cluster of men, older, robed, sandals dusty with travel, sit in a loose circle on stones and stools. Their voices are low, melodic, filled with cadences that rise and fall like poetry. This is not a lecture. This is not a classroom. This is dialectic, a living dance of the mind. You approach quietly, the man placing a hand gently on your shoulder before nodding to a spot near the edge of the circle. You are allowed to sit, but not to speak. You do not have the words, nor the right. The philosopher at the center is lean, with sharp eyes and a beard like woven iron. His hands move as he speaks, not flamboyantly, but with care. Each word is measured, every idea connected to 1,000 years of thought. You listen. At first, the words mean nothing, but slowly, as your ear adjusts, you begin to hear familiar shapes, the names of gods, the idea of arete, virtue, the concept of balance, of moderation, the question of what it means to live well. But comprehension is a trickling stream, not a flood. You understand moments, then lose the thread entirely. A young student laughs, gently, but you hear it. and you realize you've been caught looking confused. The philosopher turns toward you once, says something short and sharp. The others glance at you. There is no malice, only curiosity. But to be examined so nakedly, without the armor of words, burns deeper than you expect. You wish to speak. You want to say, "I'm not simple. I'm not foolish. I just come from another world." But you have no words for that, only silence. The conversation flows on without you. They debate the soul, psyche, and whether it can be perfected through reason. They mention Socrates. They argue over the purpose of poetry, the danger of rhetoric. You catch enough to feel the edges of the brilliance, but never its full glow. You are a shadow in their light. After some time, the group disperses. The philosopher gives you a glance, not unkind, not warm, simply neutral. You nod, your tongue heavy with things unsaid. As you leave the grove, the man beside you says something low, perhaps his own reflection, perhaps a joke, you cannot tell. He chuckles softly. You walk back through the agora, past peddlers and stonecutters and flautists. The world is alive with colour and noise, but you are subdued, quieter than before. You had thought philosophy might comfort you, that the wisdom of the ancients might offer a hand to hold. Instead, it reminded you how deep the chasm is between knowing and belonging. In your own time, you had access to knowledge. You could Google, stream, listen, speak. But here, wisdom is passed through lineage and language. To gain it, you must sit, listen, suffer confusion, and wait years before being allowed to pose even a question. It is not simply about thinking, but about enduring the long apprenticeship of silence. That evening, you help grind herbs in the kitchen. The boy asks you something. You smile and shrug. He repeats it, slower. You still do not understand. His brow furrows, and he turns away. You are tired of not understanding, of failing. You step outside, where the sky is painted in dusky pinks. A shepherd boy plays a reed pipe on the hillside. The sound is low and mournful, like a song for lost things. And in that moment, you realize something small and painful. You are not only a foreigner in space, but in mind. Your questions do not matter here. Your knowledge is irrelevant. Even your dreams cannot be shared. You sit alone in the garden, the scent of time in the air, and whisper words from your own time just to hear them aloud. They sound strange here, like echoes from another life. Sleep finds you with difficulty that night. You lie awake, staring at the beams of the ceiling, and wonder how the world can be so full of wisdom and yet make you feel so small. The fourth day in ancient Greece begins not with hunger or labor, but with sound, soft chanting rising in waves over the city roofs. You rise slowly from your mat, muscles sore but no longer foreign to pain, and step into the brightening courtyard. The man and the boy are already gone. In their place is the old woman, pressing olive oil into a small amphora, her face lined with reverence. She hands you a sprig of laurel, says something short, serious, almost sacred. She points east, then touches her chest, then gestures upward. It is time, you understand, not for farming, not for thinking, but for worship. You walk the path alone, following other villagers in slow procession. The roads are swept clean. Market stalls are shuttered. Even the dogs seem subdued. The air carries the smell of smoke, honey, and crushed herbs. Bells, gentle and metallic, ring in the distance. You arrive at the foot of a hill, low but dignified, where the white stone of the temple rises into the sky like a shard of heaven. Marble steps stretch upward, flanked by statues, Athena with her spear, Apollo strumming his lyre, Hera with eyes of stone severity. Each figure towers above you, timeless and unblinking. You join the line of citizens ascending the steps. Sandals, clack, voices hush. A young girl ahead of you carries a shallow dish of figs and barley. A man behind you holds a clay lamp, its flame steady in the breeze. As you reach the top, the scent of burnt offerings envelops you, flesh and spice mingling in the air. You cross the threshold, and the world changes. Inside, it is cool, shadowed, sacred. The light filters in through narrow slits in the marble. Gold gleams dimly on altar edges. Drapes of purple linen hang like ghosts. At the far end, the deity watches. You do not know which god this is. You can guess, but you dare not speak. The statue is massive, seated, crowned in laurels, eyes painted to shine like wet stone. It is both beautiful and terrible. People step forward one by one. Some kneel, others bow. A few murmur words under breath, prayers, pleas, poems. One woman sobs quietly as she lays down a small loaf. And now it is your turn. You stand there, laurel in hand, frozen. What do you say? To whom do you speak? You, who come from another world, a world where the gods have long since faded to myth, where reverence has been replaced by irony, where temples are visited but not believed in. Your hands tremble. You kneel, not because you understand, but because it feels wrong not to. You place the laurel on a small side altar, copying the gestures of those before you. You bow your head. You think, perhaps, of something to offer, but you have nothing. No sacrifice, no prayer in Greek, no name to give. A priest passes behind you, white-robed, slow-footed, his hands coated with ash. He looks at you, puzzled. Then, gently, he sprinkles a few drops of oil over your laurel and whispers something. You feel forgiven, though you do not know what for. As the ritual ends, people file out slowly, some with red eyes, others with serene faces. Children whisper and tug on tunics. Doves coo from the rafters. The priest sings softly, alone now with the god. Outside, the sun feels brighter, almost harsh after the cool silence of the temple. The world bustles once more. Laughter returns. Bells ring louder. But you are quiet, shaken not by awe, but by something harder to name. You had not expected to feel unholy. In your time, you believed yourself open-minded, tolerant, respectful of faiths not your own. But here, in the marble belly of the gods, you felt like a trespasser, uninvited, uninitiated, unseen by divine eyes. There are no sermons here, no shared books, no central dogma. Faith is woven into everything, the meal, the weather, the day's work. To not believe, or worse, to not know how to believe, is not rebellious. It is dangerous. You descend the steps slowly, passing a boy placing a garland on a goat's horn. The goat stands docile, unaware of its fate. A sacrifice for the feast, day. Its eyes meet yours for a moment. They are calm. The feast begins in the fields beyond the agora. Blankets laid out, wine poured freely, music plucked from lyres and reed flutes, spits turn over open flames. Smoke curls upward like offerings of its own. You are handed a skewer of meat, lamb, perhaps, still sizzling. A woman offers you honey cakes. A child tries to smear your face with berry juice in play. There is laughter. Now, joy. But it is not your joy. You chew in silence. The food is rich but foreign. You sip the wine, now heavier and less diluted. The heat of it rises to your cheeks. People dance nearby, stamping feet in circles, arms outstretched. The man from your household joins in. He calls for you to follow. You do not know the steps, but you try. It is awkward. You stumble. A woman steadies you. A child giggles, but you try again. This time, you find a rhythm. Not quite theirs, but close. And for a moment, just one moment, the alienation softens. Still, when the music fades, and the sun begins to dip behind the hills, and the revelers drift home in drunken pairs and sleepy clusters, You remain seated alone. A fig falls beside you. You look up to see the boy, laughing, then running off again. You smile briefly, but in your heart is still that strange, aching silence. The silence that followed you from the temple. A silence not of the gods, but of not being known by them. Of not having words when the world is full of prayers. There is a certain ache that speaks not of labor, but of something deeper. Something that begins in the limbs and settles behind the eyes, like a whisper of fever. On the 5th morning, you wake not to the rooster's cry, but to your own breath. Shallow, hot, and tinged with the taste of metal. Your limbs are heavy. The world blurs slightly at its edges. The mat feels impossibly hard. The air feels too thick. Your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth. A soft cough escapes your throat. Dry, persistent, unpleasant. You sit up slowly, but the act sends a wave of nausea through your body. Your head pulses. Sweat beads along your brow, though the air is still cool with dawn. You are unwell. In your world, this would not be frightening. A thermometer, a cup of water, a pill or two, and rest. But here, in this ancient place, even a simple fever can carry the weight of dread. The woman in the courtyard notices you faltering. She speaks your name, or what passes for it, and touches your forehead. Her fingers are rough, warm, and steady. Her eyes narrow. She does not need a thermometer to know. She smells sickness, the way a shepherd smells a storm in the wind. A few words are exchanged with the boy. Then the man is summoned. They speak quickly, glancing at you between phrases. There is no panic, just a brisk purposefulness that somehow worries you more. You're handed a cup of something dark and bitter, a mix of boiled herbs and resin. You drink because they watch you. It burns slightly. It coats your throat like oil and leaves behind a taste of tree bark. Soon after, you are laid in the shade of a laurel tree near the edge of the house, where the breeze can reach you. A cloth is dampened and pressed to your forehead. Chickens cluck in the distance. Bees hum nearby, busy and unconcerned. You close your eyes. The hours that follow melt into each other like wax on a candle. Sweat comes and goes in waves. The fever tightens its grip, then slackens, then tightens again. You dream without sleep, visions of glowing temples and distant sirens, of cities rising and falling with each breath. There are no doctors here, as you know them, no white coats, no antiseptics. The healer, when she comes, is old and crooked-backed, with fingers stained from flowers and fungus. She wears a robe dyed from roots, and around her neck hangs a string of teeth, not human, but fox, hare, and hound. She speaks to the man softly, then kneels beside you. You expect her to ask questions. Instead, she listens to your breath, your stomach, the sound of your heartbeat against the earth. She lays hands upon you, whispering words you do not know. She sprinkles herbs on your chest. Something is burned nearby, a pungent smoke that makes your nose twitch. Then she begins to hum. It is low, like the buzzing of bees. Not a song, not quite. A rhythm of breath and tone. She hums while she presses warm leaves against your wrists. She hums as she draws small signs in the air over your forehead. You do not understand, but it is strangely soothing. She leaves behind more drink, this one thick, reddish, and slightly sweet. She says something to the boy, then vanishes like mist. The fever lingers into the evening. You are not dying, but you are not recovering either. It is in this fragile state that your thoughts turn most painfully to home. You imagine a soft bed, a parent's voice, a familiar nurse's touch, the sound of a refrigerator door opening, a glass of cool water, a thermometer beeping. Even the sterile scent of a modern clinic feels like heaven compared to crushed leaves and whispered chants. Here, illness is not a routine, it is a trial. Night falls. A small oil lamp is placed beside you. The boy brings a blanket, though he keeps a slight distance, afraid perhaps of contagion. You smile weakly. He does not smile back, but places a peeled fig beside you and runs off. The stars above you glimmer through the laurel leaves. You try to count them, but lose track after a few dozen. The fever makes even the constellations spin. You wonder if they would bury you here, if your name, whatever they call it, would be etched into stone, or would you vanish as silently as you came? It is a morbid thought, but illness breeds such thoughts, especially in a world without the safety net you once took for granted. You do not fear death so much as oblivion, the fear that nothing of you would remain here, not even a story. And yet, in the darkest hours, something shifts. A breeze, cool and fragrant, moves through the tree above you. The fever breaks, just slightly. You feel your skin dry. The tightness in your chest eases. The pain behind your eyes recedes. You sleep, not with dreams, but with silence. When you wake, the old woman is beside you again. She nods, then replaces the cloth on your brow with a fresh one. The man sits nearby, sharpening a blade. The boy peeks from behind the door. No one says much, but you sense it. They are relieved. Perhaps not for your sake, but because you remain useful. You are not yet lost. The healer returns later, and this time she smiles. She places a sprig of rosemary behind your ear and says something you think might mean strong. You are not healed, but you are recovering. And in this place, that is enough. You are still weak, but the fever has loosened its grip. You rise slowly on the 6th morning, limbs trembling but willing. The air is crisp, with a scent of olives and something darker, an undercurrent of smoke or metal. The man speaks little to you today. He throws a cloak over your shoulders and gestures toward the agora. His tone is brisk, impatient. You follow him with hesitant steps, unsure if your body or the world beneath it is more unstable. The city is gathered in murmurs. A knot of men and women cluster near a stone platform, shaded by an overhanging awning. Their voices rise and fall, like waves against a stony shore. There is tension in the air, an invisible rope pulled taut between anger and order. As you draw closer, you begin to understand. Today is a day of justice. In ancient Greece, the law is not behind closed doors. It is not confined to courtrooms or handled by faceless professionals. Here, justice is public, performed before the eyes of the city. Any citizen may accuse another. Any citizen may speak in their own defense. The man stops you near a shaded bench, and you sit. Before you, a tall figure, narrow-faced and stern, stands with arms crossed. He wears no armor, yet carries authority like a shield. A small plaque bearing an image of an owl rests before him, the symbol of Athena, wisdom, judgment, civic pride. A man in a rough cloak shouts from the crowd. Another shouts back. There is no gavel, no bailiff, only the crowd's energy and the sharp eyes of those who remember every slight. Two speakers approach the platform, one accuser, one accused. They present their cases not with lawyers, but with rhetoric. Persuasion is power here. To speak well is to win. To falter is to fall. You do not understand the words, but you feel the rhythm. Anger, plea, insult, oath. The crowd shifts with every phrase. Approval is a murmur. Disdain is a groan. This is not quiet deliberation. It is theatre, a ritual of voice and honor. The accused man, barefoot, shaking, falls to his knees. He offers something, a token, a piece of cloth, a vow perhaps. The official does not move. Then, a decision. The owl plaque is lifted, then turned. The crowd gasps. The accused cries out, not in rage, but in sorrow. Two men approach and seize him by the arms. He is led away, his head bowed, no chains, just shame. You feel a chill. In your time, punishment might mean a fine. a legal record, a quiet correction behind frosted glass. Here, justice is a spectacle. The man beside you turns and speaks. His words are firm, then questioning. You do not respond quickly enough. He frowns. Another man steps near, says something sharp. There's laughter from someone nearby, cruel and short. You realize too late that a jest has been made at your expense. You do not understand it, but its sting is clear. The man gestures again, points to you, then makes the shape of a coin in the air, then rubs his fingers together. You have no coin, nothing of value, only the clothes on your back and your silence. Second man laughs louder, steps close. He pokes at your chest with a bony finger. The gesture is not friendly. You step back. You say no, softly, in English. You raise your hand defensively. This perhaps is your second mistake. He stiffens. A hush falls. In ancient Greece, gestures are as weighty as words. A wrong motion, a perceived insult, can be judged as easily as theft. The man shouts. Others join in. Your face burns. Then, without warning, someone grabs your arm. You are pulled forward, stumbling toward the same platform where the trial unfolded. You try to explain, but your tongue is clay. You try to plead, but no one hears, no one understands. You are not a citizen. You have no voice. You have no right to speak. The man you live with approaches quickly, says something, low, urgent, imploring. There's a back and forth. The owl judge watches. Then, with a quiet nod, he dismisses the scene. The tension breaks. You are not punished, but not pardoned. You are dismissed. The man takes you firmly by the arm and leads you away, not harshly, but with a grip that tells you, don't speak, don't act, not here, not again. You walk home in silence. Later, as you scrub the courtyard stones, you replay it again and again in your mind. What did you do wrong? Was it your hand, your voice, your failure to laugh when they laughed? You realize then, perhaps for the first time, that you have no protections here. There is no embassy, no law in your language, no help, and more terrifying, there is no intention. You did not mean to offend, but meaning is not what matters. Perception is law. Reputation is armor. In your world, misunderstanding can be explained. Here, it can be fatal. That night, the stars offer no comfort. They are cold jewels, far from mercy. You lie awake long after the others sleep and feel the weight of something heavier than sickness or labor. It is fear, the quiet, constant fear of slipping once, more, and having no words to stop the fall. The days grow longer, or perhaps it only feels so. The seventh day in ancient Greece dawns beneath a sky that seems bluer than memory, but colder in spirit. The people around you rise with purpose, each belonging to something. A trade, a family, a faith, a name. You, still, belong to nothing. This becomes most apparent in the way they look at you, not with hatred, but with uncertainty. It is not cruelty that isolates you, but ambiguity. You are not a citizen, not a slave, not a woman, not a man. You are something in between, unanchored, undefined. And in ancient Greece, definition is survival. You walk the dusty paths behind. The man again, but today it is not to the agora nor the fields. Today he brings you to a gathering place of men, stone benches forming a square shaded by grapevines, where voices are low and serious. This is a symposium, not the kind with wine and poetry, but a more civic variety. Men discuss city business, trade agreements, military obligations, gossip, yes, but strategic gossip, woven with intent. They do not glance at you. You are there, but not part. Your very presence, silent, listening, strange, is tolerated only because you are useful to someone and still. The hierarchy plays out like choreography. The older men recline slightly, gesturing with a kind of laziness earned by years of service or property. The younger ones stand straighter, eager for a place, mimicking their elders. A boy brings them wine. He is barely 12. He does not speak. He pours with care. They ignore him utterly, as one might a table or chair. You wonder, is that your place? A man laughs, deep and warm. Another leans in to whisper something, and there is shared mirth. You strain to understand, but the dialect is thick, clipped consonants and gestures you don't know. Then one man, short, bearded, with a scar over his temple, turns toward you. He studies you for a moment, then asks a question. You freeze. You do not know what he said, but you know it was a question. He waits. The others grow quiet. You shake your head slowly. He repeats it, slower this time. A few men chuckle. The man beside you, the one who took you in, answers on your behalf. A short phrase, a shrug, the tension breaks. But the man with the scar smiles in a way that isn't kind. You are being watched again, measured, weighed. You wonder privately, are they deciding whether you are clever or simple, useful or disposable, a threat or a joke? Later, as you walk home, the man doesn't speak to you. He seems distracted, as though reconsidering something. You pass by a line of women walking in the opposite direction. They carry baskets of wool and water, veils low over their brows. They do not meet your eyes. In ancient Greece, women are invisible by design. They cannot vote nor speak in public forums. Their realm is the home, the hearth, the birthbed. Their worth is in silence, endurance, fertility. And yet, they belong. You, for all your modern values, your sense of gender and autonomy, do not. You are not veiled, not claimed, not spoken for. You exist between roles, visible but not known. That evening, the woman of the house presses herbs into your hands. You grind them by the fire. The boy watches you cautiously, still unsure what to make of you. You feel, again, like a shadow walking through someone else's dream. You think of your own time, how you could walk freely, speak boldly, dress as you pleased, how your status was fluid, earned, sometimes argued. Here, there is no such luxury. A slave is a slave, marked by fire or birth. A metic, a foreign resident, may live, work, but never vote or own land. A woman may give life, but never lead it. Citizen man, by far the smallest class, is a creature of unmatched privilege and impossible duty. And you? You are not on any scroll. You have no kin, no record, no anchor in this world. Even the gods perhaps do not know where to place you. That night, the man speaks to someone at the gate. A visitor, tall, with dark robes and a fine tunic. They speak in hushed tones. Glances are thrown your way. Something is being decided. You feel it before you hear it. The next morning, you are handed a bundle of cloth, inside. Rough sandals, a heavier cloak, a strip of cord. The man gestures again, this time not to the agora, but to the road leading out of the city. Your time in his home has ended. He does not explain. He does not scold. He simply returns to his work. The woman watches from the courtyard. She says nothing. The boy avoids your eyes. You leave the house with your bundle and your questions. There is no farewell, no closure. And once again, you are cast adrift. This time not just into the past, but into the indifferent arms of a society that will not claim you. As you walk the road, the city behind you turns to stone and memory. The hills rise ahead, wild and unfamiliar. You are a body with no role, and in ancient Greece, that is the same as having no soul. The road from the city is long, winding, and void of promise. The soles of your borrowed sandals grow thinner with every step. The bundle of cloth under your arm grows heavier, not with weight, but with the weight of uncertainty. The fields begin. as a breath on the edge of the city, then stretch outward. Olive groves, grain patches, vineyards climbing low hills like stubborn vines. The soil here is not lush. It is dry, crumbly, grey-brown like old parchment. It does not yield easily. You come to a small farmstead. A man, older than the one who housed you before, leaner, harder, watches you from under the brim of a straw hat. He is mending a wooden plough, his hands calloused into something between bark and leather. You bow slightly. He does not return it, but gestures toward a pile of broken reeds beside a pen of goats. The message is clear. You are not a guest. You are labor. The work begins at once. Your first task is to thatch a hole in the shed roof, climbing unstable beams with armfuls of dry reeds while the sun bears down like a god without mercy. Your fingers blister. Your throat burns. The reeds slice your palms like whispers of paper. There is no praise when you climb down, only another gesture toward the olive trees. You are to help gather fallen fruit. The olives are small, gnarled, and scattered beneath thick roots. The ground is hot, uneven. You crouch and crawl, filling a basket that never seems to fill. Flies buzz around your ears. A goat bleats in mockery. The man's wife watches you from the doorway. She holds a spindle and distaff, spinning wool without haste or effort. Her expression never changes. You wonder if she has ever left this land, if the city to her is a distant myth. At midday, you are given water, lukewarm, carried in a heavy jug, and a heel of bread with crushed garlic. No rest, only sustenance. You eat standing, the wind stirring dust into your eyes. Then the real work begins. The field needs tilling. A single ox, slow and stubborn, is hitched to a wooden plough with a bronze blade dulled from use. The man guides it, but it is you who must clear stones, break clumps of dirt with a mattock, and scatter compost from a basket slung over your back. Hours pass in a haze of sweat and silence. In your world, food came in plastic wrap and tin cans, in climate-controlled aisles under fluorescent lights. Here, every grain is blood and muscle. You learn quickly that nothing grows without prayer. Not metaphorical prayer, but literal. Before each furrow, the man murmurs a short invocation to Demeter, a flick of oil, a clod of soil lifted to the sun. And if the rains do not come, the gods are blamed. Not chance, not science. The gods. By late afternoon, your back screams. Your skin is raw from the sun. The knuckles of your fingers have split. But still, the work is not done. The woman brings you lentils in a cracked bowl. Cold, flavorless. You eat anyway. No one speaks to you, not in cruelty, but in efficiency. Words are for those who remain. You, perhaps, are not expected to. At dusk, the man releases the ox and tends to its hooves. You are told to sweep the shed, its floor littered with dry dung and feathered dust. As you sweep, you find yourself shaking, not with cold, but with something else. A deep, slow realization. You are not just tired, you are breaking. You, who once stood in air-conditioned offices, who sat on buses and scrolled through glowing screens, who measured effort in keystrokes and gestures, you now know a different kind of exhaustion. Here, every hour is owed to the land. The land does not ask, it demands, and still, there are no guarantees. The harvest may fail, the rain may never fall. A fire, a plague of locusts, the whim of the wind. Any of these can undo a year's worth of backbreaking work, and yet they rise each morning, these farmers, and begin again. You wonder what that kind of faith feels like. Not in gods, not in laws, but in the simple belief that one more swing of the mattock is worth it, that tomorrow might feed your child, that the field, in time, might forgive you. As night falls, the stars return, indifferent and watchful. You are given a place to sleep in the corner of the shed, near the chickens. A straw mat, no blanket, just a piece of cloth. You close your eyes, But sleep does not come quickly. Your hands twitch with phantom movements, grasping reeds, lifting stones, wiping sweat. You hear the ox breathing in the dark, slow and steady. The scent of soil clings to your hair. You are one with the earth now, but not in reverence, in servitude. And as your breathing slows, you realize the dream of a pastoral, simple life was just that, a dream. The reality is dust, blisters, and a sun that never blinks. On the 9th day, you awaken not to labor or shouting or the pecking of hens, but to something softer, music. Gentle, wandering notes float over the fields, carried by a breeze that stirs the olive leaves and makes the very earth seem to breathe. You rise from the straw mat, bones aching, but your ears straining toward the sound. There is something comforting in it, something that pulls you upward, like a vine following the sun. You follow it to the grove just beyond the goat pen. There, beneath the shadow of an old fig tree, a boy sits cross-legged with a small lyre in his lap. His fingers pluck the strings with precision and ease, coaxing out melodies that seem older than the trees, older than the soil itself. Others have gathered too. A few farmers resting before the sun rises fully. 2 older women with baskets on their hips. Even the goats are quiet, heads tilted toward the music. Then the boy begins to sing. The words are Greek, ancient and formal, rising in a cadence that is both foreign and familiar. You understand none of the grammar, but the shape of the story flows like water. There is a hero, a voyage, a betrayal, a god who watches with cold amusement. Names drift into your ears like falling leaves. Odysseus, Ares, Delphi, Troy. You recognize them, though the tales they carry here feel deeper, more personal. Not legends from dusty books, but stories lived and retold, passed through mouths that still believe. The crowd listens with reverence. There is no applause, only silent understanding. And you are transfixed, but not part. You feel the beauty, like light through stained glass, brilliant but untouchable. You are full of stories too, songs you know by heart, poems that once stirred you to tears, melodies that followed you through breakups and reunions, through traffic and quiet nights alone. But none of that belongs here. If you sang even one verse aloud, no one would understand. Worse, they might see it as nonsense or disrespect. The tone's wrong, the phrasing clumsy. Your stories were built on rhymes they do not use, metaphors they would not recognize, references to machines, cities, moons walked upon, wars they never imagined. Here, music is memory, language is lineage. You have neither. Later that day, you follow the young musician, whose name you overhear might be Theon, toward a dusty clearing at the edge of the farm road. There, a half circle of stones forms a modest theatre. No stage, no curtain, just flat earth, cicadas buzzing. Children sit in the dust with wax tablets on their knees. A grey-haired man recites in rhythm. They echo him, like small waves following. The tide, it is part hymn, part poem, possibly even lore. The old man gestures to you once, beckoning. He speaks a few words and waits. You shake your head, unsure, and he tries again, this time pointing to the stone. Sit. You obey, awkwardly folding yourself down. The lesson continues. You can follow none of it, but their voices stay with you. They rise in unison, then fall, then rise again. There is power here, not just in the meaning, but in the act itself. In your world, storytelling is scattered, digitized, consumed in bursts. Here, it is sacred. Oral tradition is not entertainment, it is identity. Each child reciting now carries, within them, the weight of generations. They will grow into farmers, soldiers, traders, but all will be keepers of the voice. You are not. You walk away as the sun rises higher, heat shimmering in the dust. You pass a young woman kneeling beside a ceramic pot, painting careful shapes with crushed pigment. She sings quietly, something slow and sad. Her hands never stop moving. On the surface of the pot, figures come to life. A horse, a man with a spear, a woman with arms raised in prayer. It is a story told without words. You crouch to watch, transfixed. The woman glances at you but says nothing. She continues to paint and sing. You hum, softly, trying to match her melody. She stops, not rudely, but firmly. She wipes the rim of the pot with a cloth and turns it away slightly. The message is clear. This story is not yours. You retreat once, again. That evening, the goats are restless and the wind carries the scent of burnt grain. As you sit outside the hut, watching the shadows grow long, you find yourself whispering a song from home. Just a fragment, something simple. Your voice is dry, unsure. The notes hang in the air like ghosts. No one hears you, or if they do not answer. In this world, words are bridges across memory, family, duty, faith. But you have no words here, only silence dressed in borrowed syllables. You cannot sing their songs, and they will never know yours. You stare at the stars, ancient, yes, but now seeming impossibly distant. You once knew their names from constellations, apps, and star charts. But here, they are gods, stories, warnings, and you. You are a blank page in a library of epics, a name without a song, a voice without a tongue. The 10th day in ancient Greece begins with a strange quietness, not the silence of solitude, but the hushed kind that falls before something important. You sense it in the way the farm moves, slower, more deliberate. The man you work for wears a cleaner tunic than usual. His wife oils her hair and braids it neatly. The boy scrubs a clay cup until it shines like bronze. Something is coming, something ceremonial. You are told, more through gestures than words, to wash. The woman hands you a strip of linen and a shallow bowl of water scented with crushed bay leaf and a little lavender. You bathe clumsily, unsure of the ritual, splashing rather than anointing, but it seems to satisfy her. Then, you are handed a robe, not white, but dyed a muted blue. It is stiff from sun drying, its folds creased like origami. You tie it around your waist with a cord and adjust it as best you can. Sandals are fitted to your feet. A headband, thin and frayed, is placed upon your brow. When the man reappears, he examines you with a short nod, not approval, but permission. He gestures that you are to follow. You walk together down the hill, through the olive trees, whose silver leaves whisper in the dusk. The sky is brushed in violet and gold, and the scent of roasted barley wafts through the air. Your stomach growls. You haven't eaten since the midday figs and water. You approach a large stone house, larger than most you've seen. Lanterns flicker in the archways, casting warm halos on the limestone walls. Music hums from within. Flutes, lyres, low laughter. Inside, the symposium has already begun. You step into a room unlike any other. Low couches line the walls, angled slightly toward a long wooden table that curves like a river through the center. Men lounge upon the couches, resting on one elbow, their legs draped carelessly. Their robes are immaculate, their sandals gleaming. Most wear ribbons, some golden clasps. The air smells of roasted goat, honey, cinnamon, and wine. A slave hands you a cup almost immediately, shallow and wide, filled with a crimson liquid. You sip it. It is wine, but unlike any you know. Sharp, slightly bitter, cut with water and perhaps herbs. It burns slightly, then warms your throat. No one speaks to you at first. They glance, measure, turn away. You find a place on the edge of the gathering. You do not recline, at least not well. Your back aches from field work, and your body has not learned how to make idleness look elegant. A man across from you speaks. His voice is smooth, deliberate. You catch one word. Xenons, stranger. He lifts his cup in a mock toast. Others laugh, not cruelly, but not kindly either. You smile weakly and nod, unsure if you've just been welcomed or warned. The food begins to arrive. Trays of flatbreads, lamb soaked in lemon and thyme, olives marinated in herbs, soft cheese wrapped in fig leaves. You reach carefully, mimicking those around you. The bread is delicious, warm and chewy. The olives are pungent and rich. Then comes a bowl of something more complex, a stew of lentils and fish, smoky with the tang of vinegar. You eat silently, eyes down. Conversation buzzes around you. You hear fragments of politics, myths, jokes told in dactylic rhythm. A man recites Homer by heart, gesturing with his cup. Another quotes Hesiod, challenging the previous verse. The rhythm of Greek poetry floats through the room like incense, each syllable a building block of pride, memory, status. Then the singing begins. A hetaira enters, one of the famed female companions trained in music, philosophy, and wit. Her robe is sheer, her voice low and melodic. She sings of Eros and Thanatos, of love and death braided into one thread. Her words are rich with metaphor, double meanings, and clever turns. The men smile, nod, respond in kind. One offers her a riddle. She answers in verse. You listen, transfixed, but your silence is beginning to stand out. A man near you, a well-fed merchant with eyes like polished jet, leans toward you with a grin. He says something. You don't catch it. He repeats it, louder. Everyone looks. He's made a joke. They're waiting for your reply. You open your mouth, but all that comes out is a soft, uncertain word in English. Sorry. Laughter erupts. Not mocking, exactly, but dismissive. The kind of laugh that folds you into the role they've already given you. The fool, the outsider, the mute. The hetaira glances at you, then looks away. You try to smile, to raise your cup in a way that suggests you're playing along. But the moment has passed. From that point on, no one addresses you directly. You are left to sip wine, nibble olives, and observe. More wine is poured. The crater in the center of the room is constantly replenished. Cups are refilled without request. As the night deepens, the talk grows bolder. Confessions, boasts, games of chance with ivory knucklebones. Someone sings of the Trojan War, then another man mocks the gods to gasps and cheers, and you remain quiet, cold, sober despite the wine, distant despite the closeness. When the final toast is made, a libation poured for Dionysus, you forget to tilt your cup toward the flame. It is a small thing, just a gesture. But in a room where every move is choreography, your misstep is clear. The host notices. He does not correct you. But your cup is not refilled. You leave before the lamps go out. The road is darker now. The stars are sharp above, like frost. You walk back alone, the taste of herbs still on your lips, the wine turning bitter in your throat. Back in the shed, lying on your mat, you finally understand the purpose of the symposium. It is not just a feast, it is a mask. Everyone there knew how to wear theirs, how to speak in verse, drink with the gods, laugh at the right time. You had no mask, and so they saw through you. Goal: depict the realities of seafaring life in ancient Greece, highlighting the dangers, dependence on weather and gods, and deep-seated fear of the unknown. Explore existential vulnerability and the mythic weight of the sea. The 11th morning begins with salt on the air. It is faint at first, carried in on a breeze that stirs your cloak and lifts the hem of your robe, but it grows stronger with every step down the winding hill path, until it clings to your lips, gritty and sharp. You've been sent to the coast. The man who housed you for 2 days after the banquet had business with a trader, barley for pottery, or wine for olive oil, or perhaps just words exchanged for promises. You did not understand the arrangement, but you were asked to carry bundles, and so you did. Now, the city lies behind you, and the sea stretches before you, wide and endless, glittering like hammered bronze beneath the sun. The docks are narrow, and uneven, made of old wood and rock. Boats bob gently in the harbour, some wide-bellied merchant ships, others sleek, thin fishing vessels. The sails are pale, stitched from rough linen, their ropes thick with salt and age. Men shout from the shore, loading jars of wine, salted fish, amphorae sealed with wax and straw. Others pull at ropes, checking knots, rubbing oil into weathered wood. The air is thick with the cries of gulls and the rhythmic slap of waves against hulls. You are handed a coil of rope, no instruction, only a gesture. You tie it as best you can, your fingers already sore. A fisherman watches you, then grunts. He unties your knot and does it again, quicker, tighter, never looking you in the eye. You have no sea legs, no sailors. Instinct. No place here, but the boat must sail, and you are pulled aboard. The vessel is narrow, oar-powered, though it bears a single sail furled for now. It creaks beneath your feet as you step onto its deck. The motion of the tide unsettles your balance. The world tilts slightly with every breath, and then you cast off. The oarsmen row in unison, backs bowed, arms tense. The sea resists at first but soon yields. The coastline slips away behind you, the hills softening into blue haze. The wind picks up. The sail is raised. The motion becomes smoother, yet more frightening. You are no longer tethered to the earth. Poseidon, the sailors mutter occasionally. Not in prayer, but in recognition, as though saying the name keeps him watching or keeps him away. The sea in ancient Greece is not just a highway. It is a god's domain, vast, unknowable, temperamental. It is a blessing when calm, a curse when angered, and no voyage is ever truly safe. You are given a bowl of barley mash and dried fig. You try to eat, but the swaying of the boat makes your stomach twist. The sailor beside you laughs, not unkindly, but knowingly. He has seen this before. You cling to the edge of the vessel as waves rise and fall. The horizon wavers. You close your eyes to still the motion, but behind them is only more spinning. By afternoon, the wind changes. Dark clouds gather near the western edge of the sky. The older sailors grow quiet. One touches the beads around his neck. Perhaps a charm, perhaps a prayer. The captain, a man with a broken nose and a voice like cracked leather, shouts orders. The sail is lowered. The oars return. You do not know what to do. No one tells you. So you hold tight, white-knuckled, as the boat begins to rise and fall more violently. The sea is no longer gentle. It growls, low and steady. The waves slap against the hull. Spray stings your face. The sky darkens further. Lightning flashes in the distance, though thunder never follows. And then it hits, a wave larger than the others, surging beneath the hull and lifting it high before letting it fall. You scream, a sound lost to the wind. The men shout, work, fight, the water. They do not scream, they sing, a short chant, one phrase repeated with every pull of the oars, a rhythm to hold onto when the sea begins to devour the sky. You try to join, but you do not know the words. You mouth sounds, but they are meaningless. Another wave crashes over the bow. The deck is slick. A crate of fish slides past you. A sailor shouts and grabs it, as if saving it might appease the sea. The boat rights itself, barely. Hours pass, or minutes, you cannot tell, but slowly, almost unwillingly, the sea calms. The wind dies. The sky lightens. The waves soften, and then, just like that, it is over. The sailors laugh now, shaky, breathless. They pat one another on the back. Someone kisses a bronze token worn at their neck. Another pours a drop of wine overboard. You lie still, shaking, soaked to the bone. You have never felt so mortal. You understand now why the Greeks feared the sea, why they sang to it, built temples to it, sacrificed bulls and doves before setting sail. Because it is not merely water, it is fate, capricious, unforgiving, and you are nothing to it. When you return to shore, hours later, feet unsteady on land, you fall to your knees, not from reverence, but from relief. A man helps you up. He says something you do not catch, but the look in his eyes tells you, you've been tested, and you were not ready. That night, as you rest beneath a fig tree beside the road, wrapped in a damp cloak, you whisper a prayer, not to a God you know, but to anyone listening, please no more sea. But the sea does not listen, it only waits. On the 12th morning, you awaken with dry lips and a rumbling stomach. The night beneath the fig tree has left your neck stiff and your limbs cold, but the sky above is soft with light and promise. Birds chirp from terracotta roofs, and somewhere, nearby, the scent of baking bread floats on the breeze. You are told, by a gesture, a glance, a handful of coins pressed into your palm, that you must go to the agora. The word conjures history, the heart of the city, the pulse of Greek civilization, a place of exchange, not only of goods, but of ideas, where merchants shout, philosophers pace, and rumors pass like fire along rope. You've read about it, dreamed about it, and now you are walking into it. The agora is already alive when you arrive, not with quiet commerce, but with a kind of ritual chaos, the kind that only comes from generations of routine, finely tuned and utterly alien to you. Stalls line every path, formed of canvas stretched over wooden frames. Their wares spill onto rugs and baskets, figs, garlic, fish with glassy eyes, jars of honey, oil in clay amphorae, wool dyed with saffron, grapes so dark they shimmer like wet ink. Each merchant is both performer and predator, singing their prices, charming their audience, mocking rivals, praising produce. Their voices rise in waves. Some shout praises to the gods for their harvest. Others swear oaths on their mother's name that no olive has ever been fresher. You clutch your coins tightly. They feel small in your palm, insufficient in both value and confidence. You step toward a stall with flat loaves and twisted pastries. The woman behind it is strong-armed and sharp-eyed. She speaks before you can gesture, her tone firm, questioning. You don't understand. You point to a loaf, then offer a coin. She frowns. She says something again, perhaps about weight or price or insult. You try to apologize, but the words fail you. You hold up another coin, not knowing if it's too much or not enough. A man behind you laughs softly. He says something to the woman. She snorts, then takes the coin, tosses you the bread, and turns away. You do not feel triumphant. You feel invisible. At another stall, you try to buy cheese. The merchant gestures that you must smell it, taste it, feel its firmness before choosing. But you don't know the rules, how much to taste, how long to consider. You take too long. The man rolls his eyes. He turns to the next customer, ignoring. You step away. At a third stall, herbs, salt, dried meat, you attempt to barter. You mimic others, holding 2 items in one hand, a coin in the other, then raising an eyebrow as if asking, both for this? The merchant squints at you, then barks a single word. Probably no. You walk on, each exchange chips away at you. Not because you are rejected, but because you don't know why you are rejected. Words swirl around you like wind through reeds. You hear snippets, prices, stories, haggling, flirtation. Someone recites a joke. A merchant sings a mock epic about onions. A child chants a market rhyme. The language is not just Greek, it is commerce, a dialect of the body and voice, of knowing when to haggle and when to yield, of sensing mood from posture, of timing your laughter, your silence, your scorn. You know none of it. You have never felt more mute. In your own time, you could buy anything with a card swipe. No negotiation, no performance, no need to prove yourself. Here, every purchase is a battle, and you have no weapons. You sit near a fountain, cradling the single loaf you managed to buy, nibbling it slowly. It is chewy and sweet, laced with anise or honey. Children run past, laughing. A man dips a jar into the water. An old woman tosses a fig into a beggar's bowl. You are surrounded by humanity, but never more alone. You close your eyes, just for a moment, and imagine walking into a cafe, ordering your favorite drink, smiling at the barista, paying with exact change, saying thank you, a simple moment of connection, effortless. Here, even simplicity requires fluency. You open your eyes again. A boy is staring at you. He asks something, his brow tilted. You smile, shake your head. He stares a moment longer, then runs off. Later you attempt one last trade. A man sells sandals, new, thick-soled, well-stitched. Your own are nearly torn. You hold up your worn pair, then a coin, then point to his. He examines your shoes, then your coin. He tilts his head, says something long and fast. You understand none of it, but he smiles. He hands you a pair, and before you can thank him, he is gone, off to another customer, shouting over your shoulder. You stand there, sandals in hand, unsure if you have just been cheated or gifted. You do not ask. You cannot. You leave the agora with a loaf, a pair of sandals, and a silence heavier than the satchel slung over your shoulder. When you return to your shelter, a borrowed barn near the village's edge, you do not speak. There is no one to speak to. Instead, you sit with your bread, your sandals, your unanswered questions, and you begin to understand something deeper. In ancient Greece, language is not just power, it is belonging, and without it, even surrounded by thousands, you are still. Just one thing, alone. The 13th day begins under a veil of smoke. It rises gently from the eastern side of the village, thin ribbons of grey, curling like fingers into the still morning sky. The air smells of rosemary and something darker, something final. You are told, with a glance and a solemn tone, that a man has died. You do not ask who. You do not need to. His name means nothing to you, but his death means everything to the people gathering now in clusters around doorways and beneath olive trees. There is a hush across the village. Even the roosters are subdued. Children speak in whispers, if at all. The body lies within a modest stone home, prepared by his family, washed, anointed, dressed in clean linen. Coins have been placed over his eyes to pay Karen, the ferryman who guides souls across the river Styx. This is not mere poetry. It is duty. Without the coins, the soul would wander, lost, restless. You stand at a distance as mourners begin to gather. They do not cry loudly. Their grief is measured, as if they are actors in a ritual older than memory. The women tear the hems of their robes and scatter ashes over their hair. Some wail, not with abandon, but with a rhythm, a structure. Grief has form here. Even sorrow is a language. The body is carried on a simple wooden bier, draped in cloth, surrounded by laurel and myrtle. It is borne by family and close friends, each one barefoot, heads bowed. The procession moves slowly through the village, and you follow, uncertain whether you're meant to. But no one stops you. People join along the way, some bringing jugs of oil, others small flasks of wine to pour as libation. A few carry painted vessels, perhaps filled with offerings, perhaps empty, symbolic. You walk among them, silent, a ghost among the grieving. The path leads to the edge of the village, to a low hill overlooking the sea. There, a pyre has been built. Stones mark the corners. Nearby, urns wait to receive what will remain. As the sun rises, so too does the fire. It begins slow, then grows. The cloth smokes first, then the wood, then the body itself. A priest sings an invocation, his voice rising in long, trembling notes. He names the man's lineage, his deeds, his virtues. Even the simple ones are elevated. He tilled the earth with faithful hands. He honored the gods. He gave bread to the hungry, The words are not grand, but they carry weight. Because here, in ancient Greece, how you are remembered is what gives your life shape. You watch the flames devour the form. You cannot look away. No one rushes the moment. No one interrupts it. It unfolds like a tide, slow, inevitable, mournful. Ash settles on your tunic, clings to your arms. The smoke stings your eyes. But something stings deeper. It is the sudden realization that if you were to die here, now, there would be no coins for your eyes, no voice to speak your name, no priest to tell your story. You would be burned and forgotten. There would be no lineage to recite, no friend to remember your kindness, no child to say, "They once made me laugh." You would vanish like a vapor, unnoticed, unlamented. In your own time, death is sanitized, softened, dressed in flowers and carefully chosen words. It is something hidden behind curtains. Here, it is open, shared, essential, not an end, but a moment of transformation, from flesh to flame, from name to story. The man who has died will live on in memory, his virtues repeated each year at his tomb. Offerings will be made. His family will honor him through festivals. His soul will join the chorus of ancestors. You have no chorus. You step back from the pyre as it crackles into ember. The priest marks the end with a final phrase, then silence. The mourners begin to leave, their faces streaked with ash and sweat, but their steps steady. One of them, a woman, perhaps the man's sister, glances at you. She says nothing, but she does not look away in judgment, only curiosity, as though wondering, briefly, who you are, mourning. You remain as the fire fades. The urns are filled with ash and fragments of bone. They are placed in niches along a nearby stone wall, marked with carved names. Each urn represents a life remembered. You touch one of the cold stones. You whisper your own name beneath your breath, as if daring it to remain. But even you cannot be sure if it will. That night, back at the barn, you sit in silence. The sky is full of stars, more than you've ever seen. They shine bright and ancient, the same that shone above Achilles, above Sappho, above the nameless man burned today. You wonder what stories were told of you before all of this, and what stories would be told if you never returned. And for the first time since arriving, your fear is not that you might die, but that you might live and leave nothing behind. The 14th day begins in the cool hush before sunrise, when the hills are still draped in silver and the birds have not yet found their voice. You awaken in the barn, the straw beneath you damp with morning dew, and step outside to the scent of earth, wool, and faint smoke. Down the road, a bell rings, thin, metallic, purposeful. It calls not to labor or prayer, but to learning. You follow the sound instinctively, like someone hearing a familiar melody from a forgotten dream. It draws you through narrow streets, past vendors arranging their wares, past women sweeping dust from their doorways, until you reach a modest stone building with a shaded courtyard. Boys gather there, some in white tunics, others in dusty robes, like your own. Most are young, though a few near adulthood. They carry wax tablets and styluses. Some hold scrolls tied in leather. Their faces are eager, expectant. Inside the courtyard, an old man paces slowly. His beard is long, grey, streaked with ivory. His eyes are sharp. His posture, even in age, demands respect. He carries a staff, not for walking, but for pointing. The lesson begins. You slip in quietly, standing near the wall, hidden in the lattice of shadows. He begins with letters, alpha, beta, gamma, not as mere sounds, but as ideas, foundations of meaning. The boys repeat after him, carving the shapes onto wax tablets with careful, deliberate motions. Then come numbers, ratios, measures, harmony in form. You know these, not just the names, but the essence. You once learned them on a glowing screen. You solved equations. You read Plato in translation. You quoted Aristotle to win arguments. But here, your knowledge is silent. You dare not speak. Even though you understand, you are not allowed to understand. You are not a student. You are not enrolled. You are not, strictly speaking, even present. The fourth teacher does not acknowledge you, not in cruelty, but in structure. His lesson continues. Now, poetry. A boy stands and recites Homer. His voice wavers, but the cadence is there. Each word lands like a footstep across time. The class applauds lightly. Another boy takes his place, reciting Hesiod, more confident, more rhythmic. You are awash in memory, the Iliad on your bookshelf, the Odyssey quoted in films, a coffee mug that once said, "Sing in me, muse." But here, the muse does not sing for you. She sings through them. The boys practice copying verses onto clean slates, their fingers stained with wax and pigment. They share lines, correct one another. A few jokes softly about a mistake, an accent misplaced, a breath mistimed. They are being trained, not only in facts, but in elegance. In your time, education is often functional, a means to a job, a credential. Here, it is character. To speak well is to be good. To reason clearly is to be just. To recite poetry is to remember who you are. You want to join, even for a moment. But as you step forward, quietly, just slightly, the teacher's eyes meet yours. He says nothing, but his gaze is firm. You are not welcome, not unkindly, not personally, but categorically. Because here, learning is a gift reserved for citizens. You are not a citizen. Worse, if you had been born female, this door would never open at all. Even in your silence, you feel the weight of that truth. Of how many are never taught to read, never shown to write, how knowledge is hoarded behind the thin veil of privilege, name, birthright. You step back. The lesson continues. Later, as the class disperses for midday bread, you linger at the edge of the courtyard. One boy, perhaps 12, with curls and quick eyes, glances at you. He says something, a question. You shake your head. He frowns, then hands you his wax tablet. You look at it, clumsy shapes carved into soft black. A sentence, maybe a verse. You recognize only half the letters. He gestures for you to return it, then says a word slowly. Grapho, to write. He offers you the stylus. You take it. The wax is warm beneath your hand. You carve a shape, a letter you know. A, then a second, then a third. But they are not Greek. The boy blinks. He takes the tablet back, erases your marks with the flat edge, then shows you again. Alpha, beta, gamma. He smiles, and you realize this is not pity. It is the instinct of a student seeing someone. Lost and reaching out, you try again, your fingers unsteady, but you copy it. Alpha, beta, gamma. It is not perfect, but it is shared. The bell rings again. He is called back inside. He runs off, tablet in hand. You remain in the courtyard, alone again, but not untouched. For just one moment, you were not a ghost. That night, under the pale moon, you trace the letters again in the dirt outside your shelter. Alpha, beta, gamma. You whisper them to yourself. And in the stillness, you understand that learning in ancient Greece is not just intellect. It is a rite, a long, slow climb up a hill, whose summit is visible only to those already invited to ascend. You were not invited, but you saw the path, and that perhaps is almost enough. Almost. The 15th morning begins with dust in your mouth, not the soft dust of market roads or farm fields, but the fine, bitter kind carried by wind across open land. It settles in your eyes, grits your teeth, dries your tongue. You are outside the city now. No more stone walls to protect you, no temple roofs to shade you, just scrubland and hill, twisted trees and narrow goat trails, a path that winds without pattern, fading into ravines and brush. It had not been your choice. The family who let you sleep in their barn moved south for harvest, their donkey cart full of tools and grain. You were not told to leave, but you were not asked to stay. And so, with your borrowed cloak, your threadbare sandals, and a water skin that leaks slightly at the seam, you walked. At first, the countryside seemed beautiful. The sun filtered through pine. The air smelled of thyme and myrrh. Cicadas hummed their endless hymn, and far away, across the hills, the sea gleamed like a spilled libation bowl. But as the hours wore on, beauty turned to burden. The sun grew hotter, the hills grew steeper, the paths became less clear. There are no road signs, no markers, just stones and shrubs, and sometimes the footprints of goats or men. And men here are more dangerous than beasts. You pass an old shrine tucked into the cliffside. A half-broken statue of Hermes stands crooked in the alcove, his eyes chipped away by time. Someone has left a bit of honey in a cracked bowl, a sign of reverence or desperation. You leave a pebble. You do not pray, but you wish. A few hours later, as the sun begins to slide westward, you hear something, a shout, low and sharp. Then another voice, then laughter. You crouch instinctively, heart pounding. On the trail below you, 3 men walk, rough robes, knives on their belts, faces lined with salt and soot. Not soldiers, not farmers. They walk with the ease of those who have not earned what they carry. Bandits. They do not see you, not yet, but their path bends toward yours. You turn, slowly, silently, and descend the opposite slope. Your breath is shallow. Your feet slip on loose stones, but you move quickly. You don't stop until you reach a grove of cypress. Tall, dark, protective. There you rest, hidden in shadow, listening. Nothing. You are alone again. But now, the silence is not comfort. It is threat. You begin to understand something your modern mind had long forgotten. Outside the city, outside the walls, there is no safety, no police, no cell signal, no help. In ancient Greece, civilization was a circle of firelight in a vast, dark forest, and you have wandered too far from the flame. The night comes faster in the hills. There are no torches, no lamps, only moonlight. You curl beneath a ledge, using your cloak as a blanket. The wind picks up. It smells of resin and something sour. Animal, perhaps. You clutch a rock in your hand as you drift in and out of sleep. You dream of wolves. You wake at dawn, trembling. You eat the last of your bread. It is dry and crumbles in your mouth. You walk. The sun rises. You drink the last of your water. Your legs ache. Your mind drifts. In the distance, you see columns. At first, you think it is a mirage. But no, it is a temple. Abandoned, perhaps, covered in vines and moss. You approach slowly. The columns are Doric, simple and solid. The roof is partially collapsed. Inside, there is a stone altar, long cold. But someone has been here recently. You find a pile of burned herbs, a few olive, pits, a bit of red thread tied around a fig branch. Pilgrims, maybe, or shepherds, or something older. You sit in the shade, breathing deeply. The air is still. You do not speak, not out of fear, but out of awe. In this place, even silence feels sacred. Later, you descend toward the lowlands. You spot a farm in the valley, small, walled with stacked stones. Chickens cluck in the yard. A boy herds goats near the gate. You approach slowly, hands open. The farmer is cautious, but not unkind. He says something. You shake your head. He squints, then gestures you in. You are given water, sweet, cold, miraculous. You drink it like wine. You are given a fig, then another. You sit on a stone and close your eyes. You have survived the wilds. But only barely. That night, as the farmer's family prepares their evening meal, you sit beneath the stars once more. You understand now why cities mattered, why temples and markets and stone walls were not just luxuries, but shields. Because outside them, nature does not care. The gods are quiet, and the only thing that keeps you alive is someone else's mercy. The 18th day dawns with a sky too still to trust. The wind has gone silent, as if the very air is holding its breath. Dust lingers in the streets without being lifted. Even the olive trees do not sway. It feels like the hush before a storm, though no cloud can be seen. You walk through a small village pressed into a hillside, where the homes are low and square, the windows covered with slatted wood. The people here glance at you differently, less with curiosity, more with suspicion. They've seen outsiders before, and it has never ended well. Near the edge of the town, you hear the first shouts. Loud, rhythmic, but not joyful. Not like the songs of the festival. This is something heavier. You follow the sound to a wide clearing, flattened earth surrounded by rough stone benches. At its center, two men stand barefoot in the dust, shoulders square, jaws clenched. A crowd rings. Them, men mostly, some boys, a few older women in veils. They speak with low intensity, murmuring names and details you don't understand. The two men are stripped to the waist. Sweat already shines on their backs, though the sun is not yet at its peak. One is tall and broad-shouldered, his beard tied with cord. The other is younger, wiry, his fists twitching. A voice speaks loudly from the side, perhaps a magistrate or just the man with the clearest voice. He announces something. There is no arena bell, no judge's gavel, only silence, and then a nod. The fight begins with no ceremony. The older man lunges first, arms wide, hands open. He drives forward like a charging ox. The younger man slips aside, punches low into the ribs, and steps back. There is no rule book here, no count of rounds, just instinct, strength, and memory of insult. You hear words from the crowd. Brother, land, wife. Someone spits in the dirt. This is not sport. This is personal. Dust rises with each shuffle, each slam of foot and flesh. Blood appears early, just a trickle from the lip, but it's enough to raise a cheer. Then the young man stumbles, caught by a sudden elbow. He falls hard. The older man pounces, knees pressing, fists raining down. The crowd surges forward, but no one stops it, because here, stopping a fight before it's finished would dishonor both. You feel something twist in your stomach. You've seen fights before, in bars, in movies, on screens. But this is different. This is recognized, not hidden. The body is not sacred here. It is proof. A tooth falls into the dirt. A woman cries out, not in protest, but in pride. Perhaps a mother, perhaps a wife. Then suddenly, a third man pushes forward. He shouts, his face red with fury. He points, not at the fighters, but at someone in the crowd. Accusation. The older fighter is pulled back, panting. Words fly now, sharp, cutting. You catch none of them, but you feel them like the shift of a tide. What was a duel is now a dispute. What was personal is now political. Another man steps in, then another, and before you can blink, fists are flying again. Not between two, but among six. The crowd erupts, not in chaos, but in approval. This is not madness. This is structure, ancient and cruel. The duel has become a brawl, and you are in the ring. A man is shoved backward. His heel strikes your shin. You fall, the ground rising fast. Someone trips over you. A knee hits your side. Elbows close in from all directions. You roll, crawl, push your way to the edge of the circle. No one helps you. No one sees you. You are not part of this, but you are within it. You stagger away, ribs sore, heart pounding. You don't stop until the sounds fade behind you. You collapse beside a small well. its water glinting untouched in the light. You stare at your reflection. Your hair is wild. Your face streaked with dust. Your eyes are wide, not with fear of violence, but with the knowledge that this can happen at any moment, and no one will stop it. Because here, honor is not a metaphor. It is blood. And no law will save you from the judgment of pride. That evening, you sit on a hillside overlooking the village. The sun sets behind red-roofed homes. Children play in the distance, their laughter high and sweet. Somewhere nearby, a man bathes his wounds. Another sharpens a blade. Another drinks alone beneath a fig tree. No guards arrive, no trials begin, because this was not wrong. It was just the way things are. And in your own body, you feel it. The deep ache of having no name, no kin, no ally, to fight for you. If you were struck here, who would care? If your blood spilled in the dirt, who would remember? You understand now with a kind of terror. In ancient Greece, to be alone is not only sad, it is dangerous. The 19th day begins with cloud. A blanket of soft grey settles over the hills, muting the sunlight, dulling the olive trees to silver. The air is cooler than it has been, touched by the coming shift of seasons. You walk slowly, your sandals, frayed at the heel, your breath shallow with weariness. There is no destination this morning. You follow a goat path down into a hollow where the world seems to hold its breath. No birds, no carts, no voices. And there, you find him, or rather, he finds you. You do not see him at first. Only a faint rustle from behind a fallen wall. A cough, muffled by stone. You turn, wary, but the figure who steps into view is no threat. He is old. His robe is patched and stained with years. His beard, once black, is streaked with grey and tangled with twigs. His hands shake slightly as he leans on a walking stick that is more limb than tool. But his eyes are sharp as a falcon's. They hold a light that is neither madness nor fear, but memory. He does not speak. He studies you and then nods, and then, astonishingly, he turns and gestures for you to follow. You hesitate, but something in the gesture, the quiet certainty, the lack of expectation, invites trust. So you follow. He leads you to a small hollow beneath an overhang of rock, a kind of shelter. There is a mat of dried grass, a broken amphora, a pile of stones arranged in a spiral. He sits slowly, with care. You sit across from him. The silence stretches, not awkward but full, like a deep pool you are both willing to sink into. He picks up a twig, draws a circle in the dust, then another inside it, and another. You watch. He points to the innermost ring, taps his chest, then the middle, gestures outward, then the edge, then nothing. His meaning is clear. He once belonged, but now he lives beyond the last circle, outside, forgotten, exiled. You wonder what he did, what law he broke, what name he tarnished. But the question dies before it reaches your lips, because in his silence you hear something deeper than confession. You see your own reflection, not in face or age, but in trajectory. You too live at the edge. You too walk unseen. He opens a small cloth bundle, figs, dried and sticky. He offers you one. You take it. It is sweet, slightly fermented. You chew slowly. He watches, then smiles, and for the first time in days, you feel human. He draws, again, this time a boat, a wave, a star, then a chain, then a knife, then a tear. Each symbol simple, each one etched with the patience of someone who has spoken in symbols for years. And in that language you understand. He had freedom once, then war, then love, then loss, and now, only, the memory of belonging. You try to mimic his gestures, scratching a clumsy bird in the dirt. He watches, then nods, draws a sun, then a question mark. You laugh softly. He grins. That afternoon, rain begins to fall, not in torrents, but in a soft drizzle that cools the earth and cleanses the air. You both sit beneath the rock, dry and still. You watch the water bead on stone, trickle down in slow arcs. He hums a tune, low, wavering, without words. You recognize none of it, yet it soothes you. The hours pass without demand. He builds a small fire with dry bark. You gather twigs. You warm your hands together. No titles are shared, no names exchanged, and yet you feel more known than in any temple, any market, any inn. Because here, at the edge of the world, there is no need to perform. There is only presence. That night, as you curl beside the fire, wrapped in his spare cloth, he sleeps sitting up, his head bowed, his breath slow. You study his face, worn, weathered, kind. You wonder if anyone remembers him, if a mother lights a lamp each year, if a brother still speaks his name, or if he has become, like so many, one of the countless souls erased by time, absorbed into dust and dream. And then softly, fear curls in your gut, not for him, but for yourself. Because you see now where this path leads, to silence, to solitude, to forgetting. And in that moment, you understand the deepest truth of this world. You do not survive here by strength alone. You survive by belonging. Without it, even the kindest man fades. Even the fiercest heart is forgotten, and even you, if you stay, will one day sit by a fire, wordless, waiting for a name no one speaks anymore. The 20th day begins as the first did, with footsteps, not hurried ones, not driven by fear or wonder, just slow, steady steps along a path worn by goats and forgotten by maps. There is no destination now, only motion, only breath. The old man is gone when you wake. There is no note, no farewell, just an empty mat and a cooled ring of ashes where the fire once burned. He left as he lived, with grace and silence. You do not mourn. He was never yours to lose. You walk through the tall grass of the hillside, where bees hum with unconcern and the world seems to forget its own violence. You carry nothing but the memories stitched into your skin, the dust upon your souls, and the name that still does not belong to this place. But something inside you has changed. Once, you clung to that name like a lifeline. You whispered it at night, the way a shipwrecked sailor might clutch a piece of wood in the storm. Now, you carry it not as anchor, but echo, and that echo fades with every step. Below you, the land rolls out in olive-coloured waves, dotted with stone huts, fields in harvest, and threads of smoke curling from cook fires. People move like ants, in slow procession, tending, gathering, building. None of them look up, none of them see you. You pass a shrine at the fork of the path, small, crumbling, sacred. A statue of Hermes with one arm missing and ivy climbing his legs. Someone has left a honey cake and a sprig of mint at his feet. You leave nothing, not because you are faithless, but because you no longer ask for anything. You keep walking. By midday, you reach the edge of a wide plain where the wind moves freely and the sky opens into a vast, impossible blue. In the distance, you see what might be the sea, or just the shimmer of stone under heat. You stop at a flat rock beneath a sycamore. There, you sit. There, you listen. To nothing. To everything. You think of all the voices you've heard over these days. The boys reciting Homer, the women singing in the square, the priest whispering the names of forgotten gods, the children chanting rhymes you didn't understand. Not one of those voices ever spoke your name, not truly. Not with meaning, you were always apart. Noticed perhaps, but never claimed. And it is only now, in this stillness, that you feel the full weight of that absence. Not being hated, not being harmed, but being unseen. The world here did not want you dead. It simply had no use for you, no thread for you in its tapestry, no role in its chorus. You remember the laughter at the festival, the fire in the wrestling ring, the hush of the oracle's chamber, the scream of a goat at sacrifice. You remember the way eyes slid past you, how you could walk among them and yet never arrive. A stranger in sandals worn from borrowed miles. You touch your face. You whisper your name aloud. It sounds strange here, like a shell washed up from a foreign shore. Not ugly, just wrong. A name must fit its story. Yours has none here. You rise and walk again, not toward return, not toward hope, but simply forward. By dusk, you find yourself beside a stream, a thin ribbon of silver threading through the reeds. You kneel and drink. The water is cold, and it shocks you back into your body. You look at your reflection in the surface. You do not look wise. You do not look heroic. You look tired and real. For the first time, you do not wish to escape. You do not dream of returning. You simply exist. The world around you is closing in. The sun dropping, the insects humming louder, the trees casting long shadows across the earth. Somewhere, an owl calls once, then twice. You lie back in the grass and watch the stars appear, one by one. The same stars that watched Achilles fall, that heard Sappho sing, that glinted on the shields of forgotten soldiers and danced in the eyes of doomed lovers. You are not among them, but you are beneath them, and that is something. And then, softly, a new thought comes, not like a shout, not like a revelation, just a quiet knowing that you were never meant to survive this place, not because it was cruel, but because it was complete without you. You were not a missing piece. You were a visitor, a question, not an answer. And sometimes, the question is enough. You close your eyes. You feel the earth beneath you. You do not know if you will wake tomorrow. You do not know if your name will ever be spoken here again. But in this moment, for one heartbeat longer, you are still here. And the world in its ancient silence does not mind.